All right, I'm going to blow through a few things here kind of quickly. Went to the used tool store and table that day. Items were 50 cents a piece on the table, and I picked up this scrunch. Scrunch is what Steel calls this screwdriver wrench combination, spark plug wrench combination that they use. And I think these are only about $7 or $8 at the dealer new, but for 50 cents, it's a great idea for me to pick up a spare. You never know when one's going to go missing. On one of my scabbards for my smaller steel chainsaw, when I bought it, somebody had zip tied a small hunk of rubber hose to the side of it and used that as a little sheath for one of these scrunches to sit in. And it's actually a pretty good idea, so I'm probably going to steal that idea. And when I pick up a scabbard for the MS290 chainsaw, I'll probably do that and stick this on there. I've got a couple of these laying around, but it seems like whenever I need one, I can't find it. When it's right there on the scabbard, that's a great place for it to be. And then actually this bin also was on the table for 50 cents. And these are always handy to have. Put them on the shelf, throw stuff in them. And then I don't know why I bought it, but this is actually a ball joint, an unidentified ball joint. Well, I know why I bought it. I bought it because it's a brand new ball joint for 50 cents, and I thought maybe at some point I'll be able to use it on that mess of the steering system on the IH350 International utility tractor. And so when I get back to that, and I have to start working out what I'm going to do about those horrendous looking arms that somebody welded angle iron to beef up, maybe I'll end up using that. Yeah, the estate sale that I hit right up the street, best thing I got there, which I'm not going to show in this video. I'll wait until the time comes when I'm going to actually break them out and do something with them. Best deal I got there was a pair of Toro lawnmowers that were in the garage. The story goes that one of them, which looked filthy and had dirt and grass all over it, was a running mower. And the other one, which looked really clean and was a Toro self-propelled, they're both self-propelled, but this one was I've never seen one like this. It was a self-propelled, and it had all-wheel drive system, they call it. So the front wheels and the rear wheels drove. And that was kind of an interesting thing. I figured that was probably a pretty expensive mower when it was new. They both had the bags with them. And they were asking $50 a piece for them. And I offered them $50 for the pair, and they took it. And I don't even know if either one of them run. But they're clean enough looking. I feel confident that I'll be able to get them running really well for the spring. No sense on working on them now. I'm just going to wait until we get a little bit closer to spring. I'll fix those up and I'll turn around and make a quick buck on those, I'm sure. I'm pretty confident about that. There was some tools there. A lot of the tools were kind of hit and miss. Nothing I really got excited about, other than there was a large tap and die set there. It was a number 7 Little Giant. I've seen those before. What was nice about this one was it was one of the cleanest looking ones I've seen in a while, but we couldn't come to terms on that. The guy who was in charge of the downstairs area there, he was pretty adamant about getting $100 for that. So, and maybe in some parts of the country it might go that much. If he's willing to ship it, he might be able to get that on like eBay, but then he's going to deal with, they're going to take their charges, PayPal's going to take their fees, eBay's going to take their fees, and then he's going to ship it and hope that it doesn't get damaged. And it's a good size set, so you'd be looking at having to make up a pretty good size box with a lot of padding, even if the seller pays the shipping. If it gets there and there's damage to the case or whatever, But hey, I wasn't gonna push the issue. They don't want to sell it at that price that I offered. That's fine. So it would only sit here anyways. I've got some of these old tap and die sets. I just actually sold one, and I sold it because it was just sitting here, and I bought it because I thought it was a really neat old set. And then I just realized I just have so many loose taps and dies, and tap handles and die handles around here. I really don't need a set like that. But that number 7 was a real nice piece of eye candy, so I would have kept it. Anyways, I did find in one box, I found this file, which is a Nicholson. Nice, good size one. Needs to be cleaned. This handful of drills, which are, I checked these drills, these are all US made, good names. That's a Morse taper one there, that's in really, well, it's not in, what it is somebody ground it with a very unusual angle. So I don't know if they were maybe using this on thin material or very soft material like brass. Here's a Morse taper one in the taper sleeve adapter that adapts it to a straight shank. Alright, so that's kind of interesting there. I don't know, I can't imagine driving a drill that size with that size shank. But I do have some Morse taper drill bits that are smaller that could go in this sleeve, I guess. And more importantly, that's a nice drill bit that's in there. That's actually a 39/64, and it's a Morse branded drill, which is kind of neat. A lot of these are Cleforge or Morse or other early drill manufacturers. I found this. There was a lot of sporting goods and stuff, and then where the cabinet was that had some fishing tackle and stuff like that, I spotted this. Okay, and this is a baler plug, they call it, but this is the plug that goes in the back of the boat there. So when you take the boat out of the water, if you get water in your bilge, you can pull this out and drain it. This is the thing you always got to make sure you remember to put in before you back your trailer down the ramp. But I forget how much these cost. But I got this pile, this few drill bits, this file, and this plug here for $2. So that was good. And then we went out in the back shed to look at what power equipment was back there, and I didn't see anything that I was interested in making an offer on, because I was worried the prices were going to be a little bit higher on some of that stuff, because one of the things was a snow blower, and this is the time of year where they're going to want more money for that stuff. The lawnmowers, they knew this is a bad time of year to sell lawnmowers, so that's why I got such a good deal on them. But I happened to notice what was stuck in the door was this hammer, and I said to him, hey, what are you going to get for that hammer? And he said, $1. So I said, okay. So I like that hammer. Oh, it's so worn I can't quite see. It's a number 200, and I can just make out Angeles, USA. So it's the company's probably from Los Angeles, California. This has got the removable, replaceable heads on it, so when they get all nasty or, like in this case, cracked, you can unscrew these and replace them. I've got a couple of these. I bet you I could find one that I can read the label. I love the Lixie hammers, but it's definitely not a Lixie. The Lixies have this unique handle with these flutes cut in it, or these grooves around the handle. So that's how you can always spot a Lixie. Plus, Lixies are usually pretty good about being marked. You can see on the head there. And it's rare to get a Lixie for $1. So I got two more like that. Now see, this is also a number 200, but it's a Williams, but it's got a completely different logo. So I wonder whether or not that is just a rip-off. These are ripping off each other. There's one that's pretty much identical to that one. So this, yeah, unfortunately, they're both pretty worn in the same area of that triangle. I mean, that diamond that has the name in it. I took a little bit of searching, but the name of the company is Nupla, N-U-P-L-A. I'm sure that stands for something. But anyways, they're still in business. You can actually still get their catalog. And they're not as expensive as Lixie hammers, but they're U.S. made, from what I could tell. I'm sure these are, because of the age and that. But the replacement faces are still available too. So that's nice to know. Yeah, I mean, whenever you can buy a U.S. made hammer for $1 that doesn't have a broken handle or a cracked handle, that's a no-brainer. So next up, I'm going to talk about this indicator that I picked up. This came up on Facebook Marketplace. I forgot what I originally saw it advertised for, and then I saw the price was dropped to $80. I'm going to tell you the price on this because I don't intend to sell this. I bought this for myself. Anyways, this is an Interrapid. I love Interrapid indicators, but they are pricey, so if I could find good ones on the used market, I tend to get them. And I've actually got quite a few indicators. I've sold off some, and I still have a surplus of indicators, and I have some pretty good ones. So why would I buy an indicator, another one, unless I could get a really, really crazy good deal on it? Well, at 80 bucks, I thought it was a pretty good deal for this indicator. This particular Interrapid is something that I had hoped I would get, and I remember for the longest time I wanted one. And what it is it's a vertical model, okay? So unlike your traditional DTIs, this one is oriented in a way so that the face is looking right at you when you're indicating like on the side of something. It's not something you use maybe as often as a more traditional DTI. And truth of the matter is I could probably get by the rest of my life without having one of these. But I wanted one. This one came up and I could tell from the photos that it was very clean. This is a half thousandths indicator. This is a model 312B-2V. So the 312B, the 312 series Interrapids, I've got a couple of those, I think. But the 2V designation, V for vertical, is what makes this an unusual indicator. And it works perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It was very clean. It comes with the tip that's on it and 2 extra tips and the wrench, the adjustment wrench. So that's actually pretty nice that that's all there. And those of you who have been following my channel for a while may remember that quite a while back I went to an estate sale and there was a guy in line in front of me, and his intention was to go in and buy the entire rollaway toolbox, upper and lower, that was loaded with all tools. And I had seen from the photographs that they had published before the sale started that there were some indicators in there and some items in there, and I had mentioned to him, I said, there's a couple items in there I'd be interested in, maybe he'd be willing to sell them to me. And he said, yeah, maybe. So we ended up striking a deal over this. This is an Interrapid, but you could tell from the case this is a very early one. And what this is another Interrapid vertical indicator. Now this one, although it's in very clean condition and it looks perfect, is broken. Okay, this one doesn't do anything. It doesn't move at all. In fact, even though this moves a little bit, the contact point moves, the needle doesn't move at all. So this is going to need repairs. My intention was, well, I think I paid 40 bucks for this. Okay, so I may, depending on what's wrong with this, I may have taken a bath on this. This one is a 310B-IV for 4. This is a much earlier series, I believe, which makes sense given the look at the case, you know. So I don't even know if they can still get parts for these. You know, some guys that repair these won't work on older ones that they can't get parts for. Fortunately, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'd be willing to bet that Mark Rutkowski over at MR Tool Repair can probably handle this. And my intention was to send this out to him for repair, and I probably still will. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. And then I would have one of these vertical ones, and I never got around to doing that, and then lo and behold, this one pops up. So I drive out one town over and meet the guy who had this for sale, and we strike up a conversation, and he was a really nice guy, and in the end, he actually ended up giving me this indicator for 60 bucks. So give you one more look at it. So I actually like the 310 better because of the larger dial. So who wouldn't, right? But you know, the question's going to be, well, even if I can get the 310 repaired, do I keep the 310 or do I keep the newer one? Or do I keep them both? You know, I could just keep them both, right? That would be the easiest thing to do. You know, this one, unfortunately, I'm into this for 40 already, and then I've got to pay to get it repaired. And by the time I get all that done, I'm going to be into this probably for close to, or maybe even more than what it's actually worth. So just sending this out and getting it repaired may be maybe signing the deal on me keeping this for a long time. Whereas this one here, I think I could turn around and profit on this tomorrow if I really wanted to. But yeah, so for the time being, we're going to keep both of those. But I just wanted to show you that what it was that drove me to actually plunk down money on more indicators. That being said, I think it's about time for us to break into this lot that I just hauled home from the latest estate, which I didn't think I was going to run into another estate sale for quite a while. It's, you know, today's actually February 1st now. It was the end of January when I started filming this one. But the point is, January in New England is not the time to be finding sales. So when I got there into his garage, all the stuff was laid out on tables, and one of the first things I noticed was down the end there were 4 height gauges. This one is the only one I ended up buying. This is a Mitutoyo. This is a twin beam height gauge, and there was another one there. It was a little bit shorter than this. So they make this they make this style of height gauge in different sizes. This particular one is 18 inch. It actually measures closer to 26 inches in overall height, but it's got 18 inches of usable travel. You can see the dial's kind of foggy, but you can just make out it's 1,000th to 18 inches. It's also got these inch counters on the side here. It's interesting, it's got 2 inch counters that can be zeroed independently, and one's for apparently for one direction and one's for the other direction. Still got the engraving on it here from whatever company's inspection room this was pilfered from or retired from. So it's got a couple issues other than being a little bit dirty. On the bottom here, you can see there's a little bit of surface rust. This surface rust in this area here is not going to be an issue, but this surface rust on the actual mating surfaces that are supposed to sit on the surface plate, that's going to be something that's going to have to be taken care of. And then my biggest problem right now is that it's missing the scribe. Originally this probably would have come in a big case, and it probably would have come with multiple tips that might have been able to be put on here. But what's missing is the scribe that goes on here. In other words, there should be a little foot, for lack of a better term, similar to what's on this little stand I have here. This, by the way, this is a Brown and Sharp stand, and this is currently the only height gauge that I have. So this is going to be a big improvement, to say the least. It's funny, I'm going by memory here, but I actually thought that I did have the scribe with this one, that it was laying on the table with this, and that I did get this, and that what I was actually only missing was I was missing the clamp, which this is an extra clamp I happen to have. It's probably a Mitutoyo clamp. Unfortunately, the slot's too narrow, so basically a larger version of this is what was missing here. And boy, I don't know what the heck I did. I don't know if I'm mistaken and I didn't have that scribe, and I need the scribe and this, which is going to be even more difficult to find. And when I finally do find one, I'm going to pay through the nose for it. This is probably a Starrett or a Brown and Sharp one, but again, now this I could probably make. Well, it'd be a little tricky, but I could probably use a broach, and I could mill out an oval slot and then use a broach to clean up the ends. The actual scribe itself, that's a precision part. So the other one that was there was shorter. This is an 18 inch, so I'd venture to guess that the other one was a 12 inch. and I tried to get that one. I paid $50 for this. I don't mind telling you because I'm going to keep this. And I tried to get the other one for 50, figuring, well, since that was a shorter one, I'd be willing to still pay as much because it had the scribe with the clamp on it. And unfortunately, he didn't want to sell both of them. So I'm fortunate to get this one, actually. But once you add in these missing pieces, I mean, you know, it's been around the block. This is one of those things that was very, very expensive new, and if you go to buy a new one now, if they're still in the catalog, I'm sure they're quite expensive. But when you treat it like this, the way this one's been treating with the missing parts and everything, and get this, so the shorter one also had a problem. This whole plastic piece right here was missing, so this was wide open. You can actually see the little plastic gears and everything in the mechanism there. So it's like, oh, that's, you know, I was surprised that he didn't go for that, but oh well. There was several boxes strewn about along the floor that I had to dig through, and there was a lot of just junk and a lot of shop-made tools, a lot of shop-made little angle plates and 1, 2, 3 blocks and sign bars and whatnot. I was able to get a few other items here. I got a really good deal on this machinist handbook. This is the Machinery's Handbook, revised 21st edition. This will now be the 4th or 5th book that I've acquired, so I think it's time for me to maybe start thinning that herd, deciding which ones to keep and which ones to let go. This one's kind of dog-eared and it's kind of misshapen, but hey, you know, still a good usable book. Boy, that's a thick one. And I spotted this very oily Starrett case, and it is a Starrett number S154 parallel set of 6. And I have a set of these, but the set that I have is actually, it's just loose. I don't have the case. So I was kind of glad to get this. And these are engraved. So what I'll probably end up doing is I might just end up taking and looking at the ones I do have. And so these are 154 A, B. Yeah. So it's a 154 A, B, C, D, E, and F. So it's a 6-piece set. I think I've got all 6. Yeah, so I've just got them loose like this, but they're the same ones. So that's that's the large one. That's the F. It's actually in pretty good shape. There's that one little area of rust right there where it was exposed. Otherwise, might actually even be cleaner. This one actually, now that I look at it, this one's got a light engraving on it too. Maybe I'll just leave it alone. I found this pair of magnetic transfer blocks. They were just in this broken cardboard box. I don't know if this is the original box that these would have come in or not, or just something somebody just taped together to house them. I haven't been able to find any markings on them. Seem like they're in pretty decent shape. I got a feeling though that these might just be cheap import ones. If I'm not mistaken, I think the higher end ones are all marked in some way by the maker. And these aren't. I did find there was several items that were marked made in China. There was a lot of cheap Chinese stuff there too. So, but I'll hold on to those. If I end up getting one or both of those surface grinders going, I'm going to probably be able to use them. So the reason why they call these magnetic transfer blocks is because the way that they're made, if you put these down on like a magnetic chuck and you turn the chuck on, the magnetic poles will be transferred right through the block, and they actually work really well for on a surface grinder. I don't know what a generic pair of those is worth. Probably not too expensive. And then I found these here. This is a pair of V-blocks. These are marked Penn Tool Company. Now, Penn Tool Company is still in business. They sell tools online. I don't know if they ever had a catalog or not. But it's actually kind of interesting. We've got these clamps are enameled. Worn off there pretty badly, but oh, there it is. I see. I knew I did. I did get one. There is the scriber for this Mitutoyo. Okay, so now I just need the clamp. Okay, that's right. I remember now. I put it in here so I wouldn't. It's funny. I put it in here so I wouldn't lose it. I end up misplacing it. The other thing about this scriber though is this actually looks like somebody ground the looks like somebody ground the tip on this thing. Yeah, it's a carbide tip scriber, but oddly enough it looks like somebody ground a profile on it. So we got this unusual grind on here for some reason. Better than nothing. Alright, so let's take a better look at these blocks. Let's see what we got. So Penn Tool, I don't believe they make anything. I think they're just a distributor. So I don't know who makes these blocks. Again, there was some cheap import stuff in there, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if these are just cheap imports. And again, if they were like Suburban Tool or Brown and Sharp, I would expect them to be, or Taft Pierce, I would expect them to be marked as such, and these have no visible markings whatsoever on them, so I'm leaning towards generics. They're in nice condition though. So I don't know yet what I'm going to do with these. Sure, I can find a use for them. Alright. And I found this V-block laying there. That's a nice size V-block. Unfortunately, it's just a single. Now, I have seen in the Suburban Tool catalog, I think I've seen a V-block that looked just like this. But again, there's no markings on it to indicate a manufacturer. So I would have expected this to be marked maybe right in here, and I don't see anything. So I'm going to say that that's probably a shop made, and they just probably copied a known design. That's a nice good size one though. Probably should have shown you the measurements on that last set. That's about a 4 by 4.5 by about 4. I'll put that with my other V blocks just to contrast. That pair there, 2.5, 2 by 2.5, or 2 3/4. Oh, I almost forgot. This transfer punch set that I was using in part 1 to show how bad the bench was vibrating is actually another find I picked up at the at this sale. I got this transfer punch set. This is a Chinese generic cheapo set, but I got it for $10, and they're actually in pretty good shape. They're in better shape than the set that I have now. So, and I said the set that I had. I just sold my other set because I picked up this set.